everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Carolyn, or also Carolina, because today is a Russian lit video, so we are now, instead of CarolinaMaryaReads, CarolinaMaryaReads. And someone actually asked me in one of my past Russian lit videos what my dad's name is, because then we can figure out my patronymic. And my dad's name is Albert. We are Italian, so his Italian name is Alberto, but the American version of his name is Albert. So would that make me Carolina Albertevna? I think so. I just like having fun with names. I love naming things. This is going on a tangent now. Let's get back to Russian literature. Okay, so I will be reading Notes from Underground by Fyodor Dostoyevsky. I actually have already started it and have reached the halfway point. So this book is broken up into two main sections. The first section is more of Dostoyevsky's philosophical thought and his main character's philosophical thought. And the second part is broken up into, I believe, 3 segments, and it's more of a plot-based story following our main unnamed narrator. The first part is really interesting because I was going into it expecting it to be really bleak and depressing and dark, because that's kind of Dostoyevsky, that's the charm of Dostoyevsky, and I'm finding it really humorous. I wasn't expecting to laugh, but I'm laughing in a dark way. So the humor is dark and deep, but it's there, and he always addresses the reader and is saying, you may laugh, or don't laugh, or I'm sure you're laughing, and he always addresses the fact that whoever he is writing to, and he doesn't really say who, he's more just writing to write, and he's always mentioning the thought of laughter, and I found that really interesting because this is seen as a very solemn existentialist novel or novella, and I'm finding it just really, really thought-provoking, because a lot of philosophical thought is being discussed in this novel or novella, and it's just fascinating. So I would love to just talk about the first line for a minute. Chapter 1, The Underground. I am a sick man. I am an angry man. I am an unattractive man. I think there is something wrong with my liver. But I don't understand the least thing about my illness, and I don't know for certain what part of me is affected. I am not having any treatment for it, and never have had, although I have a great respect for medicine and for doctors. I am besides extremely superstitious, if only in having such respect for medicine. I am well educated enough not to be superstitious, but superstitious I am. No, I refuse treatment out of spite. That is something you will probably not understand. Well, I understand it, and then it keeps going on, and we get introduced to this main unnamed narrator, and he just brings you right into his raw and honest and truthful thoughts, and he doesn't sugarcoat anything. He just tells you how it is, and he tells you what he thinks, and I can really see Dostoyevsky shine in this book. And I read on the back, so the back says, Notes from Underground, published in 1864, is a study of a single character, the real man of the Russian majority, and a revelation of Dostoyevsky's own deepest beliefs. And this book was written after he was released from exile in Siberia, and we have this understanding of these are Dostoyevsky's thoughts, and that's what the back was then going to say. One of his best critics has said of the first part that it forms his most utterly naked pages. Never afterwards was he so fully and openly to reveal the innermost recesses, unmeant for display, of his heart. And so we get Dostoyevsky in his most honest form, is what it feels like. I don't know if that's completely true, but it feels like Dostoyevsky is just expressing how he feels, especially after what he went through in Siberia. And he also dealt with epilepsy through his life, a lot of suffering. He had a really difficult and painful life, and you can just feel all of that in what he writes and what he writes about, and the way that he tells a story and the way that he expresses his own thoughts. You can feel all of what he went through, and it's so emotive and it's just so impactful. You can feel the history in this book. You can feel what was going on in Russia, because we are following this civil servant. So this man is telling us that he is a civil servant, and he's really expressing his own beliefs on Russian society. And I have a few favorite lines that I thought would be interesting to share. I wasn't expecting to love so many quotes. There are so many times where I was reading and I thought, oh my gosh, that's an incredible line, or that thought is so thought-provoking. The first one that I would like to share is from chapter 2, and it says, "To think too much is a disease, a real, actual disease." And I wrote in the margins, as an overthinker myself, I agree and disagree. I agree completely because there are so many instances in my own life where I overthink so many situations where it's unnecessary and it causes stress and frustration. But I also disagree because there are a lot of times in my life where I am thankful that I'm an overthinker, and it really helps me deal with certain aspects of life. And not to get too philosophical, but I think that that's what this book is trying to do. It's trying to make the reader think and question your own thoughts and your own feelings. So that's definitely what Dostoyevsky is making me do. A lot of these are really short, poignant phrases, and this one is from page 23, I'm not sure, from chapter 3, and it says, "Impossibility is a stone wall." Like, what? Impossibility is a stone wall. It's so true. It's just so true. This next one is from page 27, chapter 5. "Try letting yourself be carried along blindly by your feelings. Banish your reason, if only for the moment. Hate or love, anything rather than do nothing." I loved that. The next one is from chapter 8. "There's only one thing that you can't say, that it had anything to do with reason." Again, so true. Okay. Oh, this one I absolutely loved. So this is a fantastic analogy, that people are still people and not piano keys, as which they would be exposed to the threat of being so played on, even if it was by the laws of nature with their own hands, that they could not so much as want anything that was not tabulated in the almanacs. More than that, if men really turned out to be piano keys, and if it was proved to them by science and mathematics, even then they would not see reason, but on the contrary would deliberately do something out of sheer ingratitude in order, in fact, to have their own way. And if they had not the means to do this, they would contrive to create the destruction and chaos, invent various sufferings, and so still have their own way. And then it continues, "Perhaps through cursing alone he would attain his end, to convince himself that he was a man and not a piano key." I loved that analogy of men being a piano key, or humans being a piano key and being played upon. That reminds me of the very funny and famous Hamlet quote. Hamlet says, "Do you think I am easier to be played on than a pipe? Call me what instrument you will, though you can fret me, you cannot play upon me." And I wanted to get the exact quote, that's why I was looking at my phone, and I loved that analogy of being an instrument, humans being an instrument and being played upon, and kind of losing your own free will and other people overpowering your ability and your free will in a way, so I loved that. But a man is a fickle and disreputable creature, and perhaps, like a chess player, is interested in the process of attaining his goal rather than the goal itself. Again, we have another simile with like a chess player. I love this. Dostoyevsky, I love this. And then we have another great one. I think this is the last one. "In every man's remembrances there are things he will not reveal to everybody, but only to his friends. There are other things he will not reveal even to his friends, but only to himself, and then only under a pledge of secrecy. Finally, there are some things that a man is afraid to reveal even to himself, and any honest man accumulates a pretty fair number of such things. That is to say, the more respectable a man is, the more of them he has." Just so good, just so good. And I'm just loving this so much, which is so exciting. I really didn't know how I would feel about this book, and now I'm going to start the second part, which is more plot-based and more reads like an actual story, whereas this has just really been the main character's philosophical thought and existentialism, so I'm really excited to read the story. It starts as Chapter 2, A Story of the Falling Sleet. This book melted my brain, but in the best way possible. Oh my god. I finished it, I gave it 5 stars. The more I read from Dostoyevsky, the more I love him. The more I think his books couldn't get any better, and then they keep getting better. Oh my gosh. Where do I even begin? There is so much to say, I don't even know where to begin. The second part of this book is more of a narrative story, so we are following our main unnamed narrator as he kind of tries to justify his life and how he has become this underground man with all of these very questionable philosophical thoughts and all the suffering that he has gone through and all of the different people that he has met throughout his life and how they've influenced and affected him. Specifically his old school friends that he meets again at an older age, and those scenes were hilarious and really just very Dostoyevsky. And then my favorite part of the second half was when he meets a character named Liza, and she is a prostitute because women at that time in the 1880s Victorian period in Russia did not have a lot of choices. They didn't have a lot of rights, they didn't have a lot at all. And so he meets her for certain reasons why you meet a prostitute. Liza and our narrator then discuss the human condition and suffering and life and the aspects of what makes a person happy and what position a person holds in society and how society influences your life and all these different incredibly deep, groundbreaking, unanswerable questions and thoughts, and it's just insane. So Liza is in a really difficult position, and so is our unnamed narrator, but not really. He's in a better position than she is, definitely, and he kind of promises her a brighter future. And then once she leaves things, once she risks a lot of different aspects of her life for this promise of a better life through him, he tells her that he's just kidding, and he takes that away from her, and it's incredibly cruel. And she is such a strong character. I loved following her. She was amazing. There's this one incredible scene that I still am thinking about. I don't want to spoil it, but she basically throws it in his face that she's stronger, and it's just this incredibly strong scene, and I loved it. It was amazing. It was heartbreaking at the same time, and he asks these different questions about if you give man everything that they need, if you satiate men and women, then will they be happy, and will they have complete happiness? Will they be completely fulfilled? And he says that no human will ever be completely fulfilled, even if they get everything that they want, everything that they might need. And it's just this really great question of, you can ask yourself as the reader, would I be completely satisfied if I got everything that I wanted and everything that I needed? Most likely no. We have that very common cliche, money can't buy happiness, and I feel like Dostoyevsky is kind of talking along the lines of that. And then he discusses the aspect of suffering, and he says that even though he suffers, and he suffers deeply, there is joy coming from that suffering, and it's just mind-blowing and very questionable. He is just such an interesting character. There is an amazing quote that I will share with you guys, and it is another one of those big, huge, unanswerable questions, and that is the one major thing that I love about Russian literature, is you're always left with something. You never finish the book and you have nothing left. Dostoyevsky leaves you with something. He lingers in your mind, and you never really leave him. You never really leave his books because they will always stay with you. And this is one of the things that has stuck with me. Which is better, a cheap happiness or a lofty suffering? Tell me then, which is better? And when I read that, I just thought to myself, well, which is better? A cheap happiness or a lofty suffering? And it's, again, unanswerable, and it's something that I think can change throughout a person's life. Yeah, I don't know, it's one of those questions that you have to take a lot of time to answer, or you can't really answer, and that's what I love about Dostoyevsky, that's what I love about Russian literature. Another quote that I just adore, I already included it in the vlog on the screen, I just typed it up, but I will read it out to you guys. It's a slightly different translation from the one that I shared earlier, but it says, I say, let the world perish if I can always drink my tea. Are you kidding me? I love that. I love that so much. I agree, Dostoyevsky. Tea above all else. I just adored that. There is so much to say about this book, but I kind of feel like you'll get the most out of it by reading it. I can talk about it for hours and hours, but I can only scratch the surface of this incredibly vast novella, and it's so short, it will take you no time at all if you haven't read it. If you have read it, let me know what you think about it. I would love to hear your thoughts. I feel like this is a book that I will never stop thinking about, and it will always be present in my mind, and those are some of the best books. So yes, 5 stars, another amazing 5-star Russian read. I have been reading so many incredible 5-star Russian reads, and I've been loving every second of it. So yes, I can't wait to see what my next Dostoyevsky book is. I am not sure which one I'm going to be reading next, but actually, I have an idea of which one, but I won't say anything yet. I will wait till I read it to tell you guys about that, but very excited. And yes, let me know all your Dostoyevsky thoughts. I am fascinated by him. The more I learn about him, the more I want to keep learning about him. So if you have anything to say about Dostoyevsky, or what is your favorite Dostoyevsky book, or if you can't pick one, pick like a top 2 or top 3, I would love to know. And I hope that you got something out of this video, if you learned something new, or what I love about Russian literature is I always learn so many new things. That's what I love about classics. Like, you don't just read them, like, yes, there are so many amazing books that you can read just for enjoyment, but with Russian lit and classic lit in general, they give you something. It's like a treasure, it's a gift. They gift you with new thoughts, new ideas, questioning your life and the lives around you, and it's just, there is so much. It's not just a bound stack of paper, it is a gift. So yes, let me know which books make you think a lot. Just tell me how you are. I hope you're all doing really, really well and have enjoyed this video. So I will see you again very soon. Happy reading!